Now today we have a special treat. We have as our commencement speaker the Honorable Kim Guadagno, Lieutenant Governor of the state of New Jersey. Lieutenant Governor Guadagno is the first person ever to serve in the position of Lieutenant Governor, and does so after a productive career in public service. From her work as a federal prosecutor to her having served as sheriff of Monmouth County, she has been a leader in the fight against crime in the state. She and I have been together on a number of occasions recently, and I can tell you she has an energy, intelligence, and a vibrancy suited to be the first person in not an easy state to work in, and our first Lieutenant Governor. It's my great pleasure to welcome Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here at my very first commencement speech ever. President Saatkamp, the Board of Trustees, faculty, parents, family members, and more importantly, the class of 2010. Thank you for inviting me. You can scream. Yeah, it's good. This is a happy day. It's a happy day for me because I'm proud to be a part of the class of 2010's graduation. You know, the term commencement means to begin. When I told someone that I was going to make the commencement speech here, I asked them what I should do. Should I be funny? Should I be inspirational? Or should I be quick? And the answer was immediately, be quick. You are the only person standing between these graduates and their diplomas. So with that advice in mind, I'll do my part to be one less thing in between you and your commencement, your beginning. For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about revolution and the lessons we can learn from the life of your school's namesake, Richard Stockton. But before I move on to that, I'd be remiss if I didn't spend just a minute talking about my 3 kids and the fact that it was Mother's Day. It is amazing to me, and I look over here because it seems like all the mothers are sitting right here in the first couple rows. It's amazing to me that you're graduating on Mother's Day, because as I sit here and try to relate to the mothers in this room, there is simply nothing more terrifying than sending my 17-year-old son off to college next year. Indeed, I can learn a lot from the mothers in this office. You know well the wistful feelings of sending a son or a daughter off to college, knowing that they've done a job well done on the day of their graduation. It's a joy to see you, the students, grow into adults that will carry on our legacies. It's exciting to watch as you begin, you commence your new lives. And that brings us back to the lessons I'd like to speak a minute about today in revolutions. More than 200 years ago this month, in a graduation very much like the one we're having right here, 6 men, graduated from a college. It begins with the letter P. Can I say Princeton in this building? All right. It's a college known as Princeton, and 6 men graduated from that college. 5 of them went on to do what they planned to do, which was to be ministers. And one, he went into the law, and his name was Richard Stockton. In all fairness, it made sense for those 5 to go into ministry because those 5 were graduating from a college who was designed to create and produce ministers. What was odd is that the 6th one, Richard Stockton, went into the law because he had another plan. Even more interesting was his decision not to go into the ministry was the fact that when Richard Stockton graduated from college, he went on to be something bigger than himself, something that was in fact opposite what he thought he was going to be on the day he graduated. Not long after he graduated, he was asked what he thought about his chosen life, and he quotes, and I say, and I quote, "The public is generally unthankful, and I will never become a servant of it till I am convinced that by neglecting my own affairs, I'm doing more acceptable service to God and man," end quote. As Richard grew after his graduation, his attitude would change and change dramatically. So as I will explain here, Richard Stockton's first lesson in life for us all is never write your life plan in pen. Always use a pencil, because you'll erase and rewrite that plan more often than you'll ever guess. Right after his graduation, Richard went on into the law. That was his plan, remember, separate from his ministry friends. His plan was to go into the law, and he thought he was set. In 1766, he thought he was so well thought out, such a good lawyer, that he took 2 years off, and he traveled in Europe. He traveled in England, Scotland, and Ireland, and while he was there, he was wined and dined by the royalty. The more he learned about the royalty, ladies and gentlemen, the more homesick Richard became for freedom back in America, and he soon returned home. He returned home now to become New Jersey's main defender of the rights of the colonist against the crown. Interestingly, history tells us, and you all know, in 1776, a storm was brewing, and Richard's personal plan had changed. And this is where I note that Richard's life should be a key lesson to all of you. Always write your plan in pencil, because you'll erase it and rewrite parts of it every time you have an opportunity. Remember, this was a man who spurned public life in college, but because of the world around him in a colonial America, Richard gave up his comfortable life as a lawyer, and by 1776, he, along with 55 other men, chartered a new course. Certainly, his first plan, practicing law, had to be erased and totally rewritten. By 1776, Richard Stockton became the first person from New Jersey to sign the Declaration of Independence, the first person from New Jersey to put his name on the line, the first to answer the call for freedom from an oppressive monarchy. That day in 1776, actually the academics behind me will tell you it's probably more like a month or two, but at that time in 1776, 56 men in total stood up for what they believed in. While most people can only name 2 or 3 of the signers of the Declaration, Richard Stockton's name will forever be a part of our rich history of New Jersey. Every one of you, students and graduates in this room, will have a chance to change your life's plan. Will have a chance, probably not and hopefully not as dramatic as declaring freedom from another country, but there will be a moment in your lives that you will have a chance to take out that eraser and go another way. So here, had Richard Stockton not done so, where would we be? If you do not do so, where will you be? Lesson number 1, ladies and gentlemen, will always be plan A, but be careful to use an eraser. And that brings us to life lesson number 2 from Richard Stockton. Each of the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence paid a very high price for their decisions. In fact, everybody guessed that they were going to lose. The odds were incredibly against them when they signed the Declaration. So lesson 2 is that sometimes you have to stand up and do what is right, no matter what the sacrifice. But you have to stand up. The signers of that Declaration of Independence didn't come without great sacrifice. 5 signers were captured by the British as traitors and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons in the Revolutionary War, and another 2 had sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or the hardships of the Revolutionary War itself. Richard Stockton himself was captured, tortured, and starved before he was released. So lesson number 2 is that sometimes you have to stand up for what is right, no matter what the cost. If Richard Stockton had not stood up, if those other 55 other men had not stood up, where would we be today? So be ready, ladies and gentlemen, to stand up when the time comes. And so we come to Richard Stockton's lesson number 3, our work. That is the work we do and the work we choose to do. When we do it for ourselves, it will die with us. But if we do it for other people, well, it will live on beyond our lives. Richard Stockton's legacy lives on in our freedoms. Richard Stockton's commitment to liberty lives on in this room, in these chairs, on this floor, in this building. What he did for America lives on over 200 years later. I doubt very much when he graduated from that other school, he thought that he would have such an impact on our lives. His descendants occupied prominent places in towns, states, and the nation. Among them were was the United States Secretary of the Treasury, 4 United States senators, 2 judges of the Superior Courts, 3 attorneys general. And as we look around this room, so we see lesson 3 from Richard Stockton's life. Our work, when done for ourselves, will die with us, but when done for others, it will outlive us. While Richard Stockton's revolution was hard-fought and bloody, today most of us make our world a better place without having to go to the battlefield, that we often have to declare ourselves ready and willing to serve. Here in New Jersey, we've been blessed with a rich legacy of people proud and willing to serve. Each of you is a special part of what will become the history of New Jersey as we go on. I know that when this school celebrates its 100th anniversary in 2073, the graduates at that time will be able to look back at you and say that someone in this room, someone sitting in these chairs, someone looking straight back at us up here right now, did something great for our state and our country. As we learned from Richard Stockton's 3 life lessons, write your life's plan in pencil. Some things really are worth fighting for. And work for something greater than yourselves, graduates. I am certain if you do that, that the class of 2073 will be learning life lessons from you. How do I know that? How do I know, as I sit here today, that there is greatness in this room? Well, the students in your class are already doing great things. Students in the graduating class like Kim Spangler. Kim, are you in the room? Somewhere. She's a psychology major and a gerontology major who helped Stockton raise nearly $7,500 at the Alzheimer's Association Memory Walk last September. A 120 of you in this class helped her out, so all of you are great already. She took her service and turned it into education and action when she organized a legislative breakfast on campus. Kim, we thank you for your service to Stockton and to this community. I also am glad to learn about Laura Derrico, who's twice a Stockton State graduate. Once in 2008 with a bachelor's degree in communication, and now a degree that allows her to pursue her true passion, education. These are but 2 examples of the great students in this graduating class who are making their mark on our state already, and we thank you for that. We're already learning lesson number 3, and that is that the things we do for others will live on past our own lives. As I close, I'm going to add a 4th life lesson. Earlier this month, I was with the former New York Times columnist and best-selling author Anna Quinlan. She was at the Governor's Conference on Women, and there were 1,400 women in the room and only 10 men. But what she said touched me, and I wanted to bring it to you today. She said that changing the world requires that you reach as you rise. While working hard and making advances in your professional life, whatever it is you choose to do, you always have to remember to reach as you rise in your professions, whether it's mentoring high school students interested in your profession, or building houses for Habitat for Humanity, or participating as board members in a charity or a college that you might be passionate about. Our state gets better when we do our part to reach around, help others, and raise them up with us as we go. In closing, graduates of Richard Stockton State College of New Jersey, congratulations on your achievement. You've earned it. I know you will make the most of it. It's a tremendous privilege to be an honorary member of the graduating class of 2010. I've never been more confident in you, in this state, and in our country. Thank you very much for having me.